Okay, let us start now. Warm welcome to our masters, Brother Joe, Hualien Dharma team, and brothers and sisters around the globe to Saturday Hualien Dharma Talk. A very good morning. Let us start the session for today. Recently, disasters have happened so rapidly one after another due to the great imbalance of four elements. Now, with the COVID-19 virus pandemic around the world, Master have great concern and earnestly urge everyone to repent and adopt vegetarian meal. Going vegetarian is a way to express our sincere piety, to pray for peace and a world free of disasters. It is the purest way of love for all living beings. Now let us send our sincere prayer into the 10 directions. May the Sahara land be free from disaster and peace prevails in the world. Let us sing the prayer song with sincere piousness.
In my heart, I feel deep gratefulness. All my heart is filled with sincere prayer. From all corners of the world, let us join our hearts and pray for a world of harmony and peace. From my heart, I pray. May we join our hands, our hearts as one. Spread the seeds of great love, nurture wisdom evermore. Let us fill the world with hope. In my heart, I feel deep gratefulness. May all the Buddhas know my prayer. All united with one heart, let us end our hate with love. May there be no suffering hereafter.
May all minds be purified. May there be peace in the community. May there be no disaster in this world. Let us together recite for universal love and blessing. With loving respect, gratitude, and confidence, let us wish every person in our lives a healthy body, an enlightened mind, and a total fulfillment in universal love. Now let us expand this consciousness to include every person in the world, every being in the universe. Let our unified love make this wonderful world even better. Let us all immerse ourselves in the joyful embrace of universal love. Before we hear to the wonderful sharings, let us invite our book masters to lead us in paying homage to Triple Gems. Let us pay our respects for these teachings and explanations to the Buddha and Master Cheng Yen by making 3 sincere bows. Please rise, palms together. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Abode Masters who could join us today. Okay, so today we have sharings all the way from Philippines. Sister Woon, with the Deputy CEO of Philippines, and followed by Brother Joe. Now, before we hear Sister Woon sharing, let us invite Sister Su Ching for weekly summary. Yeah, Sister Su Ching, over to you.感恩。Sister Su Ching. Yeah, I think Sister Su Ching not here. Sister Su Ching.
Okay, in that case,
start first with Sister.
Yeah, okay, I will maybe we will listen from Sister Su Ching later part. Good morning, brothers and sisters. For joining us in the early morning. We are most grateful to have with us Sister Woon, the Deputy CEO of Tzu Chi Philippines. Sister Woon started joining Tzu Chi since 2004. Sister was inspired to join when she saw Tzu Chi volunteers performing sign language. Still, her Tzu Chi footprints did not stop in sign language. Sister Woon continued to join relief efforts in faraway places such as northernmost municipality of the Philippines, Pari, when several areas in the Philippines were faced with droughts. Sister Woon was certified in 2008. During the pandemic, she has led volunteers in providing relief aid to jeepneys and tricycle drivers. She also led cash for work cleanup efforts during Typhoon Wemko in 2020, even though Sister Woon was still unvaccinated then. Sister Woon now leads the local Filipino volunteers in Metro Manila and is in the Philippines training team. Okay, I'm sure by now we all look forward to hear from Sister Woon. Okay, over to you, Sister Woon. 感恩。
感恩 Sister Su Ching, to all our brothers and sisters, and a specious good morning to all. Foremost, thank you so much for inviting me here to share. Actually, this is my first time, and I feel really honored as I have too many things to learn from all of you. You know, here in Manila, we have these we call local Filipino community volunteers that we start to get to know them way back when we did dental mission for these 2 public school students, and then from there on, these they are actually parents or grandparents of these students, and then later, because we do weekly recyclings upon the consent of the principal of the schools, so it was a like a regular weekly activity with them. Doing recycling was really fun with all these volunteers, although the materials that they can gather in their own community wasn't really, you know, fascinating items, because the community in around public schools, they are the ones usually poor families. There was once somebody donated, from I think garment manufacturing company, a whole sack of like clothing scrap materials. And we were pondering what we're gonna do with all these items, these materials, as they are, fine cotton material. One of our volunteer was suggesting she knows how to hand weave like cushion mats, because that's the livelihood they do, in the church where she works as a volunteer also. They try to sell these items to jeepney, taxi drivers, because they feel so uncomfortable to be sitting the whole day. This is their job. So she was suggesting that maybe we can do something like those kind of a project. Actually, there were only 5 or 6 of them, of these volunteers who really know how to do this. And through this know-how, we were thinking if we're going to copy their project and sell these items, it wouldn't be really very meaningful to us, as volunteers. Then we recall when we were doing home visitations to some patients, we encountered a long-term beneficiary. She's wheelchair bound for life. She was sharing like it's very common for patients like her, to develop these painful boils, because they have to sit down all the while, lifetime. And then we were thinking, if they would be our focus in doing all these cushions, it would be far more meaningful for everyone to make this effort. And so this project started. Right now, I would like to share a short video of this project with them. We were able to share these cushion mats to an institution. We call them tahanan ng walang hagdanan. So it's like a house without stairs, because they cannot climb stairs. That's the name of the institution, because they house all these indigent people who are incapacitated because of their legs. Okay, most of them, but some even the arms. These people they house in this institution. They do not just being helped by people. They are very respectful beneficiaries there, because they also earn their own, although very minimal income. They opt to stay in that place, to learn to be more independent physically, than just try to beg on streets. So these people, they are very self-sustaining. Upon learning their way of life, we really settled down and think we should do this project with them. So this is the short video. Can we all
Staying in the Philippines, Tzu Chi volunteers made handmade cushions from recycled fabric that was transformed from PET bottles. All of these cushions were donated to people with physical disabilities who has to sit in wheelchairs for long periods of time.
Using recycled cotton fabric to weave cushions, these are gifts that the local city volunteers and elementary school students want to give to physically challenged people.
I did this to encourage people with physical disabilities. I want to tell them not to give up, because the setbacks we encounter are our life lessons.
A care recipient said that he cannot move like ordinary people because he has to sit in a wheelchair 365 days a year. It is very hard and uncomfortable sitting all day. I told them that if they can make cushions for the physically challenged people and let them feel cool when they sit on them, they will feel more comfortable. During the production process, they all felt positive energy.
The cushions were given to a Catholic group where physically challenged people make a living with their hands. Volunteers brought woven cushions and distributed to them.
Actually, ngayon, first time ko lang makita talaga itong...
I'm very happy to have this cushion. It is very soft, which is very good for people who sit in the wheelchair. I feel more comfortable when moving my body.
Ako sa wheelchair ko.
I believe that Su Ching has a benevolent heart as they treat everyone equally. We always appreciate the hard work of volunteers because we see their sincerity. In fact, I also want to become a Su Ching volunteer because I have been inspired by them.
Maging member din sana kasi so excited na rin po kami.
Both the givers and receivers have been influenced mutually by the positive energy.
So that was the whole project. When we did this survey, we found out beneficiary were like around 360 plus. So we accounted for each like 5 or 6 volunteers to be hand weaving all these 360 plus pieces of mats. We were thinking this would be really hard to accomplish in about we set due date like in 2 months time. It would be like Christmas season already, and it would be a really beautiful gift to all these people. So we grasped this opportunity, and the volunteers were brave enough to commit with us to do this project. But voicing out like just a few of them maybe cannot accomplish within this such short of time because it has to be hand weaved. And on top of that, actually in just making mat, it would not be that difficult. But we were thinking, sharing material items is easy, but uplifting all these people in suffering throughout their life wouldn't be easy. So we cannot be with them every time, but through making all these hand weaved mats, we can bring some really positive energy, positive messages to them. So volunteers, they suggested that they would put a very personal message, it's one of them, for these beneficiaries, so that each one would that would receive this item would feel really special. Not just committing to, let's do it, but you have to really put into practice. And then saying good words, as Master always encourage us. A simple positive message to a person that would influence them, because for people who are disabled, of course they are really mentally challenged. Every day in their life is a not easy, those kind of life. So they would want to encourage them, bring some really, even if short, term happiness. He said, so the volunteers suggested also that maybe we can invite also the students from their public schools to also help out in this project. So more people involved would bring more loving, caring hearts for these patients. And so we try to teach the students and then encourage them to also share their thought for all these patients. Volunteers, each one of them, like a while ago, saying hello, it's just a simple term, a simple greeting for whoever is going to receive this mat, saying, I'm not gonna be with you every time, but each morning, maybe you can hear me saying hello to you, hello, hi, a greeting, and then bringing hope. And then the other volunteer was sharing like, even if they are not physically as healthy as we are, everybody has a dream, everybody has a goal, and she's wishing whatever goal they have, she wishes them all the success. And this other volunteer, I was asking them, why would you make a clock for them? She said, this is representing, time, and time is really precious for everyone. Whoever you are, please hold on to the opportunity. Every minute of every day, you can change your life. If they're being inspired, the positive energy from Su Ching, please kindly make good use of your time, every minute of your time. And this volunteer, she wasn't able to share, putting words, but she did all her effort. Look at the mat that she did. This is a really special effort. She has to do line by line with putting different colors. Actually, this is really not painful for hand weaving, painful also for the eyes after a while. So she was saying that she would like to convey a message like, I really put my special effort in this for you so that you will feel my warmth, even if we do not know each other. And this cushion will be with you forever. And my love, my care be with you. And the students, like this one, this mat was being accomplished by this group of boys. So I was asking, what's the arrow all about? Are you sharing which direction to go to? Yeah. The boys are sharing like, whatever situation you are in, you can still excel. So this is an up sign. They're so cute. And this group, they are saying, wishing them, like Su Ching always say, if we look through life in a very nice, in a very nice way, everything would be nice, right? So she was putting that word, and hopefully they would see that all the nice things in life. Okay, and also be hopeful, whatever situation life presents. Here, this elementary grade 5 student, she weaved this message, and I didn't quite understand what this word means. So YOLO, she meant you only live once. I was so touched by her message because she was trying to convey the message like, in this lifetime, okay, please treasure, as you're being given the opportunity. So please do not waste this lifetime to try to be the best that you can do. So for a level 5 student, I find her message very warm. Okay, and all the other messages like purity of mind, have faith, and all these special designs, without word messages, but the message behind. And since it's close to Christmas season, okay, they were presenting all these Christmas designs for them to feel the festive of the season. And can you see design behind the one like piano key of a piano. So they would want to bring music also, beautiful music to their life. Yeah, and so on. Yes. You know, all these kind thoughts, they are from all this grateful heart of our volunteers. They themselves, they are actually from very poor community. They are the ones we call indigent families, but with a very grateful heart, with their own situation, they are so willing and they cherish all these blessings that they can also, help other people. And in doing so, they feel they are the one really blessed. So aside from these projects, the same group of volunteers, since we are very much into recycling, one time when they brought the newspaper to the junk shop, after we gather all these recyclables, we would bring them to junk shops and try to sell for this fund to be used to various charity works. We were comparing like, for example, a kilogram of old discarded newspaper. How much can we get from selling them? And it was like 4 pesos at that time per kilogram of newspaper. I don't know how to convert to your currency, but it was really a small amount. But we usually get, some magazines like this. These are the high-end, posh type of magazines. And when they try to bring this to the junk shop and try to weigh them and how to sell them, they were so amazed. I don't know in your place if this is the same situation, but they were so surprised when they get to know the same per kilogram, all these beautiful, really upscale magazines, they can only get 2 pesos per kilogram. you know, for them, a magazine like these new ones would cost like Philippine peso 200 to 300 per copy of this magazine. And to think each magazine, how to understand the value. Why does a magazine cost like that? For most, to publish a magazine like this, you have to have designers. Maybe in taking pictures, you need what? The styler, hairdresser, whatever it takes. It's expensive, it's costly, also because of the paper material and also the printing. Everything is quite costly, right? But when it is out of fashion, nobody wants them anymore, just discard them. And when you try to sell them as, waste product already, it doesn't cost much. So we were trying to say that, why don't we try to make something useful out of these beautiful materials? So we came up with this upcycle project. Let's turn them into something. But actually for paper material, there's not much that you can do with little skill. So we try to check out this with magazine pages this size, what we can turn them into. So we try to gather different kind of paper bags, the different style. Maybe we can do something. So this kind of this particular type of paper bag, we copy from commonly used Japanese paper bag, because when you fold them, when you make a lot, when you fold them, they are really flat, so you can collect a lot without being too bulky. So these sample magazines that we finally made into, look at the pages. They are so beautiful, and they are so convinced because this waste material, when you turn them into something so simple like this, it saves, let's say if I am to give a gift to my friend, I don't have to give wrapped. I don't even to say much. These paper bag, because they are with beautiful design, already speak something for the gift inside. So we try to make all this. And one time we had the opportunity, we were being invited by a private upscale school. They gathered around 5 schools at a time and then invited Su Ching to share the topic of environmental awareness. And then after the talk, we would have to do something, like a project for the students to learn, a practical way to present how to save natural resources. So we put in this, paper bag making project for the students to try to understand. So these volunteers, they are actually most of them. How do I say this? Educational attainment, not more than elementary level. Some of them didn't even went to school. So they when they hear we're going to some upscale, secondary school, they were so they were so excited, but at the same time they have this tense feeling because they don't know how to communicate with. They were thinking like upscale school. All these students must be speaking in English, and they cannot. So there was this this they have to break through with this kind of a language barrier, and we encourage them. It's okay, but for them, this is a turning point in their life, as in because of their own background. They feel so small, and yet they want to share something so big. To understand environmental awareness, to be able to share the thought of, please, younger generation people, don't just waste material. Don't just throw away things you think you don't need anymore. Extending material life is already a must because of the gradually loss of natural resources in our world, and this world will soon be their world. They want to convey this message by trying to teach them how to save all these materials. So here they try to separate them into groups, how to foremost choose the right pages to present the message of this paper bag, and then learn how to make the paper bag body and the handle. So they were so amazed, at how diligently these students were trying to learn. So look at them one by one. And these were their product. In just so short, no? We were there in about within an hour, I think, including the presentation of the topic. The students were able to make all this. And what really amazed them were they were being called mommy or auntie by the students. And these respectful acts from the students really touched their heart. After the session, you know, they feel their life being uplifted, like it's like a level up for their own personality. And they find out the, interacting, we were thinking of educating the students. Well, in fact, we were the one being educated by these loving students. And then we saw the respect, even though they know these are the, community volunteers. They are Filipinos, but they all, the students, they all love these aunties. Cherishing life together, creating a better world for everyone. This was a really fun and insightful day for everyone. Yeah. So in here, these volunteers, they understand, through being together, not just being joining our training groups, patient or Jianxi, or each time joining our book studies, they understand that, there's no price tag for life. But, value of our life, it can be increased infinitely. It's all in our mind. And as long as we have this healthy body, it is a great opportunity. And this is a lucky that not all people would have. So in improving and uplifting oneself and be able to help others, they find great value in their life. So this is my simple sharing for everybody. And 再一次感恩 to all our sisters and brothers for letting me share this simple experience with our volunteers. 感恩 Sister Su Ching.
感恩 Sister Woon. Sorry, I have two Zoom together. Let me link one. 感恩 Sister Woon for the very heartfelt and very inspiring sharing. So from here, it's not about I think how should I say, the value of this value in terms of monetary in the gift we are giving. It's beyond that. It's in the volunteers who transform it to another level. So heartfelt. I'm sure all of us have benefited a lot from Sister Woon sharing. And Sister Woon, if Sister Woon have time, maybe we open to the floor. Brothers and sisters, okay? And
would you like to ask something? Yeah,
we would like to learn.
Honor to be able to share. Yeah, anything. Actually, this is so inspiring, to be able to, be together with all these volunteers and see them grow through all these years, wisdom-wise. Because from the level of, our culture is so different. And for them, their passion in learning Tzu Chi's and Buddhism's principles, although they are, of course, not most of them, but all of them, they are Catholics. But in spite of that, irrelevant of the differences of our culture, religion, but they love Sangren so much. And being able to, be able to help others in spite of their own predicament in life. Of course, with their background, they must have, daily problems let's say, monetarily, financially, of course, daily in their life. But in spite of that, be able to help others with, their own personal effort. This alone is really keeps us going on and on, through all these years. We're the one learning so much from them each time. And, most of them are already senior citizens. We call them ama, but so much to learn from each other. Yeah,感恩.
Sister Woon. Okay, maybe we open to the floor. If any brothers and sisters have any questions, please feel free to ask. We are most grateful to have Sister Woon with us today. And we have the time before we hand over to Brother Joe. Oh, Brother Joe is here already. Oh, brothers and sisters. Okay, yeah, back to Sister Woon. Just now, Sister Woon was mentioned about this paper. The value of the high-end magazine and the expensive magazine when we sell off is lower, much lower than paper, the normal white paper or newspaper. True, same with Malaysia. I was also very shocked when I first found. I said, "Wow, these people they have to go through so much, put in so much effort, and it's so much more expensive. Why when I resell it, it's like almost a very low amount or almost useless. Not all shops accept it, but compared to the white paper or the exercise board, even newspaper, it can fetch higher price. So indeed,
Amazing,
amazing,
surprisingly, yeah.
True. How? Okay, now my
because of this very beautiful material of this paper, we try to also test the what do you call that? The durability of these paper bags. We try to put in 2 fully loaded 竹筒, our coin bags, and they are really heavy. So we put in the 竹筒, and then we walk around the whole gymnasium to try to test the sturdiness of these paper bags, and they were really good. So we are convinced that these are good items, and we keep on doing that. Actually, it's just that right now, within these 2 years of pandemic, we weren't able to do much of the recycling, all these upcycling projects. Although right now we're trying to bring all this all back again.
Okay, good to hear that.
We miss all these actions so much. Yeah. And during pandemics, these are the same group of volunteers that brave it up, although they have families, elders, children, grandchildren with them at home. They were brave enough to come out and do all these this relief distribution with us every time. So all this rice distribution, much needed in every community, because as we see under pandemic, so many people just overnight lost jobs. Those jeepney drivers, tricycle drivers, even the street scavengers, the one collecting garbage from us every day. Yeah, they still do this job, but then because of too many people without job, they ended up with because a lot of them also weren't able to go to school, so not much skill, so they just try to jump into any job opportunity. So this scavenger garbage collecting job, at the time, people this kind of people double up. So whatever their very middle income, they still have to share with all these suddenly incoming people that try to also make a living with this kind of a task, So through all this, our local volunteers, even if their income is being affected, so touching because they are, these tricycle drivers or scavengers or all this. It's really hard to do house-to-house survey at the time, pandemic. We cannot be going from house to house and knock door and do, personal interview because already not allowed by the government. So we have to do phone in interviews, each one of the, let's say, expected beneficiaries. And these volunteers, they have to pay extra money just to load their cell phone to help us do this phone interviews. So whatever effort they can put in just to help other people, these are their really touching efforts every time. Not counting, they don't mind coming out, braving the situation that they might be contaminated. They see us, Hualien, Chinese volunteer. We initiate this, but understanding their community, their houses are like, one after the other. They are so close to each other, and being afraid of being contaminated, the rate is so high. But still, they brave this because they can see actually in their own community how important this is at this time in their life. They can see how many people are in need, and keeping, trying to keep the peacefulness and harmony of their own community is already a must at times like this. Yeah. I hope I bring out the right message to all.
Definitely, Sister Woon. I'm very grateful. Yeah, we are truly very blessed group to hear from Sister Woon, because all these stories, without Sister sharing, we wouldn't even know, like the simple act like topping out handphone charges. To us, maybe we take for granted. We already like our postpaid phone is the data is much more than often what we need. So, but wow, to them, but it's already very difficult. But yet they strive further for others. Truly. Sister Woon, I also understand that you were not yet vaccinated when you started on this relief work. And now I hear even the other volunteers too, they were not yet vaccinated, yet they still shoulder on. That point of time, everyone was so worried, so concerned of own safety. People dare not meet each other, but yet the volunteers, and they are also more elderly volunteers, right? Sister Wood mentioned these are some of the recycling volunteers that are helping out. These are the more elderly. Wow. Okay, very grateful. Okay. If there's any questions, brothers and sisters wish to ask, you can post it separately. If you are not here, you can post it separately to us. We can pass it on to our Philippines family. Most grateful. Okay, Brother Joe is on board. We are actually very grateful to Brother Joe for proposing this. Actually, that day when Brother Sen Hang was sharing, and we heard so much inspiring stories from our Philippines family. Brother Joe proposes that we hope to hear more from Philippines, and that's the England, the affinity. We are very grateful that Sister Peggy helped us to bring in this most diligent Sister Woon to share with us today. Definitely, we will hear more from our Philippines volunteer. Okay, grateful to have Brother Joe with us now. Okay, maybe I pass over to Brother Joe for the next session. Brother Joe.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Sister Woon, for the sharing. And it's indeed, I think other brothers and sisters from the Philippines are doing a lot of work, and especially in the position where there's a lot of natural disasters. First of all, and there's not only natural, but I think there's a lot of fire. I know that when Brother Michael was here, he mentioned several times about the more recent fires, and just about, you guys have been very, very active, very active in responding to the very, very many fires that's happening in the slums, and I think that's very important because especially how clogged everything is, the fire comes and it's just going to destroy everything. We're not even talking about lives. Sometimes when people are that poor, maybe taking life for them, but when they lose everything, when the fire comes and lose everything, and they're not even the one that started it, it's very, very difficult. But seeing that not just the natural disasters, but also fire, that our volunteers are able to go, and also through some of the programs that we are doing in the Philippines, I think it's also very, very important, and it shows what Master always says, that Tzu Chi is a Anbang Dingguo, was able to stabilize this particular country as a whole and become one of the pillars in the society, so that there is a strong support. And to be able to do that, you need to have not just the government, but also the NGOs, and we are filling that role. And not just because we are, as an organization, as a foundation, but also with a lot of people that are really mindful and really motivated to do the efforts. So thank you to our families in the Philippines. Always the pride, the pride for when we talk to other people in different countries, right? When we're talking about what we do overseas, the Philippines will always show up. And the examples in the Philippines, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, these are the examples that we'll always be using when we're on the international stage. And that is not because you guys got hit with a lot of natural disasters. That is because that you guys mobilize and do a lot. And there are so many exemplary stories, and so many stories where we can use to share with our international brothers and sisters, and also the visitors, that we're able to show them that this is what we do. This is what we did, especially from Hualien. After Hualien, I think there were many, many things. I'm sure there are more before Hualien as well. Okay, so thanks to Sister Woon and our Philippines, the efforts, and let me just add on to that. I will always keep this in mind, that Master holds a very, very special place, has a very special place for Philippines. Okay, always. I remember when Master was in Kaohsiung, and there was I think there was the board meeting, or it was some meeting, or it was one of the teleconference, and Master thought, and even though that was what, she felt that, Master felt that the time that was given to the Philippines for you guys to share was not enough. And it was true. I mean, you would never have enough time for our brothers and sisters in the Philippines to share completely. So I'm sure there were things that were sort of, cut a little bit short. And Master specifically at the end requested another day that Master wanted to hear from. I think it was the medical foundation. I don't remember. Maybe Sister Woon, if you remember, but it was just last year, and we were in Kaohsiung. I think we were in Kaohsiung or Taipei, and I remember that there were several times. It was definitely in Taipei, and we even had Brother Michael come on to share several medical cases. And we have the doctors from Taiwan and also the Philippines share how their views on it. And only because after the meeting, Master felt that there were still things that our Philippines brothers and sisters and the board directors have not shared. And so Master specifically requested another session out of the already packed schedule. And you can understand that to squeeze another thing in requires much coordination. Of course, it's all done because Master felt that it's more important to make sure that there's nothing left behind, nothing left unsaid. Are you sure you want to say something? Okay. And I remember on April 24th, and that is our anniversary, Tzu Chi anniversary, I remember Philippines was also on. And on the Zoom, you opened up many boxes, and Master saw Qin San Shishong. Even though we know that who are going to talk and who are just going up there to show their faces and say, yeah, Master, I'm here. Okay, so Qin San Shishong was one of the people that are there to show support and saying that we are the Philippine team and I am here, right? But Master saw him and saw other boxes and began to ask everybody to share a little bit. And obviously, you're not prepared. And most importantly, we all know that time is already short. So all of the everybody were very respectful of the time. So they didn't say anything, okay? And Master didn't hear any reply. Are you sure? I keep on talking to Su Ching. Are you sure that they don't want to talk more? And so Su Ching had to ask again. And we even had to, I was sitting close by. I knew that I saw Brother Michael's picture on it. And they were telling Brother Michael to not turn on the video conference. And the reason is because he was on the train back to Hualien at the time. And the connection was flaky. And so I remember Master asking twice and becoming not so happy because we moved on, okay, and we moved on because there were more at the end. But this is what I meant. Every time when it comes to the Philippines, I have to always make sure that I keep enough time, because Master always wanted to extend more from there. If not today, then maybe tomorrow she'll continue that. So always a very special place for the Philippines, and this just goes to show you that people connection and people relations for Master is one of the very key components. And do you know why? I think for those of you, I'm sort of the younger generation, so there were a lot of things that happened beforehand. But I knew that back then, I think there was a time when the Philippines, the directors and the CEOs, they would probably come back to Taiwan every month. Because there were, I think there were some discounted airfare coming to Taiwan. So they would come every month, and they would come so often. Master knew that international travel such as this, even if it's, the airfare might be discounted, but it still takes time. And most importantly, it takes will. It takes determination. It doesn't matter how discounted the airplane ticket price is. For somebody to be willing to travel, to take the airplane flights, and then taking the train, and then, after the weekend ends, going back home, that takes determination and that takes will. And without a particular drive to do this wouldn't be done. So I'm sure that before that, there was already a lot of accumulation of good faith, and also the qing between the disciples and Master. But also it gathered a lot more during that time. So I'm sure that sometimes we think Master does not know, but a lot of things that we do, it accumulates over time, and Master understands somehow through her senses or through her other other abilities that's unknown to us, that she knows how dedicated you are, and she would repay in kind. She would return in kind. That this is what your determination and your dedication is, and so the Master would do double. Master would add on more to that to return. If you are determined, then as your master is going to give you more work or more merit or more wisdom. And that's what Master is. So once again, a little bit stories about the Philippines, and also many thanks to our brothers and sisters in the Philippines for your dedicated work, and to be our role models in the international stage that we can always share with many people. This is built on your hard work. Without your hard work, it's nearly impossible. All your work that's done on the villages after the Hualien, where the rebuilding and also the work, the employment opportunities, and also the rebuilding of the housing, etc. All these are something that I think spoke volumes for how the compassion that drives you forward. So thank you everybody. Thank you the Philippines brothers and sisters. Thank you. So for this week, we're going to continue with our previous topics, and that is the chapter on skillful means. I wanted to continue on this chapter because I think the more we talk about this, the more we explain, or the more we try to make sense out of it, with Master and also with Master's teaching as our guideline and as our guide, we're able to now crack open, or we're able to look deeper into just what this chapter is trying to say. Now, going back to where we began a few weeks ago and a month ago, when we began to talk about Lotus Sutras chapter 2, we first ask why skillful means. Why is the name skillful means? And the more you ask yourself this question, you don't have to answer yet, but you have to ask yourself the question. It's almost like the question that you ask yourself every day. What is the value of my life? You might not have the answer, but you need to know that you are in pursuit of higher values of your life and how you can achieve that. So we began asking this question, why is this chapter called the skillful means? And there were many thoughts that come up at the time. I even had a draft answer at the time. But the more that I discuss this, the more that I really think that I think I'm getting a better grasp of what this might mean. Okay, so going back to what this chapter is, the beginning of the chapter, the very, very beginning, and this is just a reminder, I like to go back to the basic, to the previous episode, so that we can have a continuation. Chapter 1, remember, this is a continuation from the Sutra of Infinite Meanings. The Buddha had just finished expounding the Sutra of Infinite Meanings. And so the Buddha went into the samadhi, or the meditation stance, where it goes silent, and all the followers and disciples, they weren't quite sure what happened. So that's where you have the two disciples, the Manjushri, okay, and Mila Pusa, the two of them, and they began to going back and forth about about why this is the case, why this is a very different case from the other times where Buddha finishing a particular sutra, and everybody would just leave and it will finish the day. So that's where chapter 1 is. The two disciples going back and forth about, have you seen this before? No, I have not. Would you please tell me where you have seen this before? Oh, I have. I have seen this many, many, many lifetimes, or many, many, many eons ago. Yet this is repeating, and this is true for every Buddha ever since that I've seen. So you have the back and forth and explaining what this happens. And not only that, but brings out that not only has this happened many times before, but we were in it too. We were part of the repeated cycles of the Buddha and reincarnated and giving us the truth. And we were there, maybe not through all the time, but we were there too. So there was many, many, many messages in that chapter 1. So chapter 1, Buddha did not say anything. This was a time when the Buddha was in meditation. So Buddha did not say anything. It was a conversation between the two disciples explaining the particular phenomena that Buddha showed us from the Sutra of Infinite Meanings. And then you have the shakeups, and you have the light rays coming out between the eyebrows, and all those supernatural things that happen. That was chapter 1. So moving into chapter 2, the very first thing in chapter 2 was that Buddha, I don't want to say awake, because awake sort of means that Buddha was asleep or wasn't awake, but Buddha came out of the meditation and began explaining. Okay, so this has to be a big deal, right? Someone after the Sutra of Infinite Meanings, where the teaching itself probably struck many people in awe, because probably this was something that was completely new. This was something that was completely new. I remember Brother Stephen Huang shared with us one time that he suspected, and he thought, he believed, and he theorized that many of the disciples, upon hearing the Sutra of Infinite Meanings, understood at the time that the Buddha was already teaching them on a different path that they were cultivating before. They were a little bit shocked at that time. So they knew ahead of the chapters in the sutra, the Lotus Sutra, that something big was going to happen. And this was going to be a change of course, or maybe not a change of course, but this is a adjusting, something that needs to be a change a little bit. Okay. So anyway, chapter 2 began when the Buddha came out of the meditation. And naturally, everybody wanted to hear, and everybody wanted to know what the Buddha came out of the meditation says at the very first instance, right? So you've been looking at the Buddha sitting right there. You have the two disciples explaining why this is happening, explaining why the Buddha was sitting right there and having all these things happening around. The two disciples explaining back and forth, questioning and answering what is going on and why this is happening. Then the Buddha came out of the meditation. Naturally, everybody's eyes were all fixed on the Buddha, waiting for an answer, waiting for, now what would the Buddha say? Okay. Before we go into what the Buddha says, let me share with you a story that happened yesterday. So yesterday we were having the board of directors meeting, and this is the time of May, and therefore many meetings, such as the board of directors for the foundation, for the medical foundation, for the education foundation, all these meetings are happening right this week and last week and this month. So Master is very busy, and every time this happens, it's just very tiring. Okay, so yesterday, naturally, we have another one like that. And I remember in one instance, so the MC, we were sort of towards the tailing end, we sort of almost got, only 2 agendas left. And it's supposed to be very quickly gone through. And so the MC obviously got the information from somebody nearby, said that perhaps it's time that we can take a break. So we had begun at around 1:30, and it was 3 o'clock. So it was a natural time to take a break. So the MC asked everybody, and you and I, and we all know that it wasn't really asking everybody, it was asking Master, right? So in other words, we're doing this because I think Master needs it, right? So this is our thoughts. And so the MC asked this question, and obviously no one answered, because we all knew, like, it wasn't me, right? It wasn't like, oh, Brother Joe, would you like a break? No, it wasn't. The MC asked, would we like to have a break? But the real question is, Master, is it okay that we have a break? Okay, so when MC asked this question, no one answered. No one, because we all knew that it wasn't asking us. Okay, so MC asked the question again, and so one of the VP said, "Okay, we'll have a break." Obviously, that's the VP's thought, but everybody still looked at Master. Okay, and then the Master said, and I think this is one of the best answers that Master gave, and it cracks me up. Master says, "Why are you all looking at me for? MC is asking all of you, do you need a break? Why are you all looking at me?" Okay, obviously, Master didn't need it. And if you need it, go, right? And so I was cracking up because You know, I was sitting more in the back, right? I play a small role, so I sit in the back, but I was cracking up. And obviously there are people that were sort of like, oh my goodness, so what does that mean? Do we take a break or do we not take a break? And eventually one of the VPs stood up and say, okay, let's take a break. And so everybody else followed and stood up, and then Master reluctantly stand up and take a break. Okay, so all I'm trying to say is, after all that is going on, obviously everybody is looking at the Buddha to listen to what the Buddha had to say, right? Even something as simple as, do we call a break during the meeting? Everybody still looked at Master, and Master said, why are you all looking at me for? You know, taking a break is you guys. Whether you need to take a break or not is not up to me, right? It's up to your biological system. Do you need to take a break? It's not me. Why are you looking at me for, right? And that was a very, very interesting reply. Anyway, so sometimes the disciples were way too much respect. I don't want to say too much respect, but almost too much, like, follow all the orders to the letter of the word, and it eventually becomes, well, don't you know how to do this yourself? But anyway, I think it's not a bad or good thing. It's just something that we need to think about and also maybe change change the way I think. Anyway, so coming back to chapter 2. So the reason why I brought this up was because in this particular chapter, that is exactly what happened. That the Buddha wakes up, the Buddha came out of the meditation, and everybody looks at the Buddha, waiting to hear what the Buddha was going to say. And the Buddha said, after the meditation, after the entire first chapter, the Buddha said that this particular path that only the Buddha and the enlightened ones will understand, this door of wisdom is going to be so difficult and so deep that none of you here would understand. Now, that is sort of what the Buddha said at the very, very first, when the Buddha came out of meditation. So you can understand, when we have expected something very, very big to come out of the Buddha, something that was very profound to come out of the Buddha came out of the meditation and share with all that you all are not going to understand what I'm going to tell you, or rather, you all have no idea and probably will never, not probably, I'm sorry, will never, no probably, definitely will not understand and get into this door of wisdom. That is definitively what the Buddha said when first came out of the meditation. So you can imagine, it would be like me hearing Master, when everybody looks at Master, expecting Master to say yes or no, and Master said, why are you all looking at me for? I would crack up, because that's not what I was expecting. And I'm sure at that time, the people in the audience also are not expecting that would be what the Buddha was going to say. Now, their reaction isn't crack up. That was my reaction to when Master said, why are you all looking at me for? Rather, their reaction would be bewildered, right? They'll be like, oh, so why are we learning, right? If this path and if this wisdom is going to be so deep, it's going to be so difficult that none of the people here, not even Shariputra, is going to understand, then why am I bothering with learning this? Why am I even bothered? Why do I even bother, right? So that would be my reaction. Obviously, I am not one of the disciples. I am not as wise. I am not as learned as them. So for me, an ordinary being, if I was there and I have been looking and expecting, and understand this, that the first chapter happens in a time frame that we do not understand. It could happen through a course of several days. It could happen through the course of several hours. We don't know, right? Just exactly how long is it between each chapters, We don't know. It could be several days for the entire first chapter to happen, right? There were cases where the world was shaking. There were 6 types of shakeups. There were the flowers falling from the skies, and there were the light rays coming out of the eyebrow, showing to all the different parts of the world. So how long did each of those take? And how long was all of this, right? Imagine if this happened for a week. Imagine this happened for a week. Then all of a sudden, the Buddha came out of the meditation and began speaking. You would expect to hear something big out of the Buddha, right? You would. Anybody would. I'm sure anybody would. So when the first thing that the Buddha said was, well, you're not going to understand any of this, what would you feel, right? So that is how I approach this chapter. The very first thing that the Buddha said in this Lotus Sutra was, you're not going to get it. You won't understand it. You won't. Now, why did the Buddha say that? Why? And what was he trying to accomplish? Okay. So I think what the Buddha was trying to accomplish was that, first of all, giving us the idea that the goal and objective is very, very far, and the path is very, very difficult. That's established. To be a Buddha, it will be very difficult. That is why all the disciples are following the Buddha's path, but none has become the Buddha yet. Okay, so we know that it's very difficult. We know that it's very long, yet everybody's still trying. The very first thing that Buddha said was, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And I always thought that when I hear that, for me, the me in me, there are two parts in me that are contradictory to each other. The one part in me says, oh yeah, I'm going to show you that I can do this. Now, there's the one part in me that is refusing to go down, refusing to accept defeat. The part in me that says, I refuse to accept this as my fate. I will try and I will continue. I will prove you wrong, that I will be able to get there, even though the journey is long and the path is difficult. That's one part of me. The other part of me is, if you tell me that I'm not going to work, it's going to work, and I'm not going to be there or get there, then I'm going to spend my time doing something else. I'm not going to waste my time doing something, chasing something that I know I'm not going to get there. I know I won't get, right? It's a very practical side of me telling me that if I believe you to be the all-knowing, the universal enlightened one, then I believe you. You tell me I'm not going to get there, I won't get there, so I'm going to quit. So there are two sides of me, and I'm sure out of all the disciples that heard this, they're probably ranging, the emotions ranging from the very active that says, I will still do this, to I will stop, right? So there are many people and many, many ranges of emotions. But what comes next is important, because when everybody was in awe and everybody was shocked, or at least that's what I would be, everybody was shocked, and they began thinking, well, why did the Buddha just say that? At this moment, the Buddha explained that even though, and I think this is the turning point, that the path, that even though the goal is so far away and the path is very difficult, this is how I did it. And I think this changes a lot of things. And I want to share this with you. Back in 2015, that was when the UNFCCC and the Paris Agreement came out. The Paris Agreement for the UNFCCC, which is the United Nations, the framework, there was a framework for the climate change conventions. And it talks about, especially in the Paris Agreement, talks about the NDCs, or national determination goals, or the goals where every nation needs to pledge. I need to pledge that by year 2030 and by year 2050, what I am going to do, national determined, right? This is my country, and we determine that this is our goal and objective. Okay, so that's the NDCs. And every nation, all the nations that sign on to this Paris Agreement are going to say that this is my goal, and this is going to be my goal. So how I'm going to get there. And this will be like right now, the UNFCCC or the panel that oversees this, or the scholars and the experts on climate change, they're looking at how every country is doing in terms of their policy, in terms of their energy usage, in terms of their technology, in terms of their infrastructure, in terms of their needs, in terms of the economy, how everything is progressing so far. And the expert, in the very, very practical and true to their heart, tells everybody that if you continue to do this, we're not gonna get there. And I think this is exactly the feelings, the parallel that we see from the Buddha at the beginning of chapter 2. The Buddha is telling you that if you continue to do this, if you continue to cultivate the way that you're cultivating, while it's very good that you're gaining wisdom, while it's very good that you're doing all the things to make sure the afflictions don't come, but continue to do that isn't going to get you to where you want to be, which is to be enlightened. Okay, so that is why the very first thing that the Buddha came out of meditation, opens up the eyes, looks at the disciples and said, you know what, after 42 years of expounding the sutras, of leading you and guiding all of you, if you continue to do it this way, you're not going to get there. And this is a very, very true assessment. Just like after the Paris Agreement in 2015, after the COP meetings, and all the meetings after that, it's keep on telling people, if you continue this pace, you're not going to get there. We're going to be above 2 degrees Celsius higher than pre-industrial time. That's what's going to happen. And that's exactly what the Buddha said. The Buddha is explaining that if you continue to do it this way, right? You have the graph, right? You have the rise in the carbon emission through the years. And then you have the dotted lines, right? The dotted, you begin to see it come down, and you have this is our projection in 2030 and 2050. And then you have the dotted lines, right? The ones that's very aggressive, then it goes very steep. And the ones that are not so aggressive, it goes flat a little bit, right? It tells you that by the year 2050, we're not going to get there. And what this means, this is Buddha being a mathematician. This is the Buddha being a technical scientist, telling you that according to the figures, according to the research, according to what's happening now, we are not going to get there. I think I made sense out of this chapter just by saying that. I think I see the parallel, right? You have the world scientist explaining everybody that, hello, everybody, we're not going to get there. It doesn't matter how hard you try. We're going to be 2 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial times. We're in a lot of problems. That's what the experts are going to tell you. And that's what the Buddha is telling the disciples. If you continue your practices, you don't make a leaping change, you're not going to get there. So how you hear this is very important. How you perceive this statement is very important. And for me, chapter 2 was 10 years ago. When I first come back to the abode, that's the chapter that I listened to, but I didn't understand it. Now, after 10 years, rereading the text, rereading what the master said, and after all the accumulation of experiences, what we saw, I think this makes sense. The Buddha explained to you that in the very true terms, if you continue to do this, you're not going to get there. It's almost like you're going from elementary school to junior high, or if you're going from high school to college, or if you're going to college, jumping to the graduate schools. You have got to change something because the level of playing field is different. You can't use the same way that you were doing before, right? I always remember that when the very first time that I go to class in university, right? You look around, there isn't anybody who is just faking it. There isn't anyone who thinks this is just for jokes. In high school, you're on top because everybody, they want to learn, they don't want to learn. And then there's a group of students that want to learn, right? I was one of those. Well, I don't want to say want to learn, but I just want to say that we do well. I don't really want to learn, but somehow we get by, okay? And there were others that don't care about study and learning. But in the university, everybody's like that. And they work a lot harder than you, a lot. And you are not much smarter than them. So what makes you think that you're going to do better? You are not, right? So that's exactly like the professor telling you. If you continue to use the way that you were doing in high school, you are not going to succeed in university, and you're not going to get that diploma. That's what the Buddha was explaining. So when you see in this parallel, it makes sense. In the context of people not changing, the Buddha was explaining to them, if you don't change your ways, you're not going to get there. That was just the beginning, right? The very first thing that the Buddha said in chapter 2, we spent 40 minutes just explaining what the context, the pretext of chapter 2 is. And did you think that I, sort of realized all of that 10 years ago? No. 5 years ago? No. 2 years ago? No. 6 months ago? No. This week. The more I hear about, the more I keep on talking about chapter 2, because this is the topic that I've been sharing online for the past 2-3 weeks, and many sessions in English, in Chinese, to Malaysia, to the US, to everybody, even to Taiwan. There was a class, there was a sharing that I did last week. It was also in chapter 2. The more I think about this, I keep on asking myself, why the very first thing that Buddha said, after all these people were expecting and looking for Buddha to say something, the Buddha finally said something, and it was, you're not going to understand this. It must be such a huge letdown. Imagine you're hoping Buddha to praise, Buddha to answer some questions, how the two disciples were talking back and forth. What would you want the Buddha to say? Oh, they are talking about the right thing. This is exactly what happened. This is, what the Manjushri Bodhisattva said was exactly right. You were probably expecting that, right? But no, that's not what the Buddha came out of meditation said. The Buddha came out of meditation said that, this wisdom is so deep and so hard, so profound that you're not going to get it. And so why am I still here, right? So the Buddha continued, probably saw the shock and probably saw the feeling, the down feelings that the students and the disciples have. So the Buddha continued to say, but let me show you how I did it, because I got here, right? This is so far. Let me show you how I changed myself. Let me show you how I did this. And I think that is this main focus of this chapter. Let me show you how I did this. So all the things following that, I believe, is Buddha's way of telling us the path is long, the objective is far away, and the path is winding and difficult. But this is how he did it. And so what we just need to do is to follow what the Buddha did. That's what we need to do. So the Buddha is telling you, or the expert is telling you, if you keep on using the coal plant, if you keep on using the petroleum to generate electricity, and the way that we're using electricity, or the way that we were eating, the way that we're living our lives, the way that we're building our homes and buildings, it's not going to get better, and it's not going to get there. You're not going to get to your 2050 goal. Forget about it. It's not going to work, right? But this is how my country, this is how we did this. And then you share with everybody else how you did it. Now, does that mean that it's going to be easy? No, it's not going to be easy. But this is exactly the roadmap on how to succeed. Now, the chapter on skillful means talks about how. And it not only talks about how, it gives you very practical means on how to how to overcome problems when they appear. So this is no longer, this is almost like a manual, a user manual on troubleshooting. Okay, because I also believe, and this affirms my belief last night when we had a heartwarming session with a group of our family members in Malaysia. And I hear sharings, very powerful sharings about the parent-child bonding class, 亲子班, and how they were able to accompany each other to walk out of shadows and walk out of difficulties. Because it is almost, it is my belief that we're going to encounter very, very difficult problems. And these are the problems that will struck us down. These are the problems that are so big to us that we won't be able to lift it. We will be hindered, even worse, destroyed by these problems. And I believe that these problems are going to happen to me. I believe that the challenge that is going to strike me down is down the road. However, I am going to diligently work so that problem happening to me, that challenge that I cannot overcome, will be pushed back. It will be pushed back further. So it won't happen just yet, but it's always around the corner. And I think that no one wants to fail. And I really believe that. You look at some people, like I said, in high school, there are students, my classmates, and I'm sure there are people in school right now that just don't want to learn, right? Do you really think that they want to fail in life? No, they don't. No one wants to fail in life. Everybody wants to be successful. Yet people take these ways and paths that just seem to be not on the successful path, right? Don't you know that if you work harder that you could be more successful, right? So why don't they, right? So this is exactly what the Buddha was giving you, right? The Buddha gave you the objective, the goal, which is to become the Buddha, to be enlightened, to be free of afflictions, to exit the path of reincarnation, to do all of that. We all want that. No one wants affliction. No one wants to be suffering, right? So this is exactly what everybody wants. So everybody wants to go there. So we all want to go there. We all want to be successful. We all want a good life. Nobody wants suffering. Good. And the Buddha says, well, walk this path. The path is simple, right? This is the highway. You get on it, don't get off. Continue to walk on it. Simple, right? So why do you stop? Because you met a problem you don't know how to solve. If you believe that everybody inherently wants to do good, nobody wants to fail, then why are they on the path that is failing? Why? Because on the path to succeed, they encounter a stoppage. They don't know how to overcome. And when they don't know how to overcome, they overcame by the problem. So they turn back. No one wants to turn back. No one wants to quit. But they had to because they had no other ways. This chapter, Skillful Means, was to explain to you, just hold out a little bit longer. I'm giving you the tools to hold out a bit longer so that maybe, just maybe, don't quit today. Quit tomorrow. Just maybe hold out one more day. Then by the time today, the same time today, the same time tomorrow, you might be changing your minds. Maybe you found the answers already. And that's what this chapter is talking about. Instead of telling you that I'm making the vow that I will never stop. No, it's hard, right? You can make a vow, but you don't know what challenge is going to come to you. So this chapter, it talks about skillful means. It's not going to talk about the major goals. It's going to talk about the little things you do in life where you can change, you can adjust, and helps you continue to be on this path. So don't get defeated right away. Hold out a bit longer. Hold out for one more week. Hey, you thinking about quitting? Maybe let's rest. Take a break for a week and come back a week later. And then think about maybe if you want to quit again. And then we can talk about more, right? So this is exactly that. Skillful means I don't exactly give you the answer, but I give you enough time to calm down, to think about it, to reflect. And maybe by the time you come back, it's a different perspective. It's a different perspective altogether. And then you are ready to move on. Last night, I heard a story where a loving father lost a very dear daughter. And it was very, very difficult. It was very difficult. It's hard for the father to walk out of this shadow. And especially the attachment was there, right? Because the dying mother left a child. And so now the grandparents had to take care of this grandchild. And so I'm sure the reminder is always there. The reminder is always there. It was very difficult. But you have to always, you can quit because it's so difficult. You don't know how to move on. You don't know how to continue, right? Every day you're sad, you're depressed, and you're trapped in these negative feelings. And you know you have to lift yourself up for your wife, for your family, and for the child. So you have to be strong. But you know the outside is strong, but the inside is very weak and it's falling apart. How long can you sustain? The longer I sustain, the more possibility, more likelihood that you're going to be able to find the answer. And he did. He held on long enough. An opportunity comes knocking at the door when the PCBC found him. And he was given a try. And in there, he was able to open his heart. And then there were some expert helps, professional helps that lift him above. Even so, after all these years, last night when the brother was talking about this past, all the things that has happened in the past, he couldn't help but continue to, you can feel the emotion well up inside. He began to choke up a little bit. So this is what I'm saying, that this is a very, very true chapter. Don't look at this as, oh, it's just another chapter. For many people, this is a journey. No one wants to fail. Everybody wants to succeed. They all want to win. But on the path to winning, we all know the winning is that way. But on the path to there were problems. Everybody gets their own problems, right? The leaving of the departure of a loved one, or we lose something happened, and we don't know how to deal with it. What happens? We turn around, we turn back, we give up. What this chapter is telling us is not giving us, big answers like do this and you will achieve. No, because Buddha knew that there isn't a big answer. There isn't a silver bullet. Like if you do this, you'll always work. There isn't a master key to all the doors. It doesn't work that way. Rather, it works small ways, pieces. Whatever problem you found, do this. Problem A, give you the answer for A. Problem B, give you the answer for B. Problem C, no answer? Well, let's prolong a little bit, right? Let's give it a rest. You rest for a week, you come back. Maybe the problem isn't there anymore. Or, I'm not running away from the problem, okay? Or, by the time you come back, this isn't a problem anymore, right? So, there are different ways to go about this. That's why this chapter is called the skillful means. It's not to tell you, you must go headstrong into a problem. I'm going to solve you. I'm going to break you. I'm going to dissolve you. No. Skillful means tells you that there are different ways to encounter problems, to go around it, to get around it, to go under it. That's what skillful means are, right? So many people think that Buddha teaches you the true, and that's true, right? The true teachings, the noble truth, absolutely. But to many, many people like us, we're not able to use that wisdom and convert it into how to get over our problems every day. We can't. So you need to have these small parts of wisdom, break it into biteable chunks so that we can chew it and we can absorb it, so we can use it. That's what this chapter is all about. It's not going to tell you big theories and big doctrines. It's going to tell you how you can do this a little bit at a time, right? You lose steam a little, I'm going to give you a little boost. You lose direction a little bit, I'm going to nudge you in a particular way so that you're back on track. That's what this skillful means. It's not going to tell you the big doctrines, big teachings so that, you're on your way, right? You're breaking through all the barriers. That happens maybe once in many, many, many lifetimes. That happens once for many, many, many lifetimes of people. Billions of people, it probably happened only once. But for every other ordinary beings who doesn't have the wisdom, the abundant wisdom, and the abundant merits and abundant people, benefactors helping you, you got to figure out a way to get around. You got to figure out a way to get to the next day. And that's what this chapter is all about. So once you set your minds to this, so imagine, right? Rather than giving you the Paris Agreement that tells you how you must reduce your carbon emission by whatever by this year, it gives you the little bits and pieces, right? It gives you bits and, this is what you do, right? Your country have wind, good. Build this, but not too many, because if you build all of it, it's gonna fail. Let me give you baby steps, right? If your country, you have geothermal, do this. Or if you do this, use hydro. Or if you must, use natural gas, right? All the fossil fuels, the petrol, the coal and oil for power generation, not good. Let's do natural gas and slowly phase down. Maybe nuclear, maybe some other ways, but slowly scale down. And at the same time, discover of other energy sources. It's not telling you that this is going to be my policy for the next 100 years, but it's going to tell you how you live day to day. That's what this chapter is all about. That's why it's called skillful means, because it's usable for you right now, but it might not work for 2 years down the road, but it works now. It allows you to get a breather, right? Imagine that your advice to everybody, to everything, is take a break for a week and come back. Maybe the answer will come up. Well, what if it doesn't? Right? You can't do this all the time. That's what skillful means is, right? It fits now, do it. But you can't always do it. And this isn't always the same answer. You can't be telling people, well, Dad, I don't know how to do this math problem. That's okay. Give it a rest for 2 days, go play and come back, and then the answer will come up to you. It doesn't work that way, right? So maybe it works in something, it doesn't work in others. That's what skillful means are. It's very specific, and it's not going to work all the time. But right now, when somebody is trapped, that's what they need right now. That's what this chapter is. Because Buddha saw so many people that are bewildered and don't know what to do. I didn't even get into this chapter talking about all the PPTs that I was going to tell you. And I apologize, just to go through what I think this chapter was trying to tell you, right? So all these things that we've been covering for the past few weeks, it's all the tools. But I would like to establish the pretext why this chapter is here. This chapter is here because we're really hindered. And this is what the brother said yesterday that really touched me too, that we always argue about very small things. People's relations are not destroyed by one or two things. Yeah, that happens. But usually it gets worse, worsened by very small things. It gets wear down. And so that's what the skillful means are. It knows that it's not the big things that's going to block you. It's the accumulation of small things. So the skillful means is going there to help you clean out the edges, clean out the little crevices that's having the small germs and things hiding in there. So you clean them out a little bit. And it's not going to work all the time, but you need to do this. And that's why it's called skillful means. Okay, so I see that it's already 8 o'clock. I apologize for going on and on and on about what this chapter is trying to say. But I think it's very important to have a perspective. That is my perspective. I'm not saying this is the right perspective, but I'm telling you that I'm sharing with you that is my perspective. And it makes sense. It makes sense for a lot of, for how the Buddha was explaining things along the way, how this is impossible, but I'm still going to show you how I did this, and then it's beginning to give us the tools. But these are the tools that, imagine, right? Are you going to be carrying the boat on your back when there's no water? No, the boat is going to be for you to use when there's water. But when there's no water, you let the tool go, right? You don't need it anymore. Or if you think you're going to need it in the future, then you carry it, right? So that's what skillful means are. It's there for you to use. It might not work for all the circumstances, but it's usable when you need it. So that's what this chapter is about. Thank you all. And I wish that having shared that, we get a better understanding of what chapter 2 is. And maybe next week we'll get into more of the tools that was introduced in chapter 2. And one of the things that I really think is very, very important is it's not just the tools, it's also the attitude. And it's all the same, right? It's all the same. It's how do you be positive? How do you continue on when there's all impossibilities around you? Same idea. Okay, so thank you. And thank you to our brothers and sisters in the Philippines. And thank you to all of you who remain and continue to be diligent to follow Master's footsteps. Thank you and have a good day.
Oh, Brother Joe, this is really wonderful. I'm sure all of us are enjoying it. Yeah, today happens to be some, they need to leave earlier because they have session at 7 o'clock. We have, I think most of us, our boat, because of the sutra adaptation, today is a day where all of us have our outdoor activities. Some will have it outdoors, some will have it indoors at homes. So everyone will have different timing. I heard some as early as 7 o'clock, they have to be at the park discussing maybe on this sign languages, bonding session. Our group, we are very fortunate because we are the captains, so we organize it after this Hualien session. Okay, Brother Joe, we are so very grateful to Brother. Truly, it brings a different perspective to these skillful teachings. A lot of contemplation going on my head. Yeah, indeed, this problem is sometimes not only ourselves, even to the people we are trying to reach out. Maybe they look similar, having the same set of problems, like problems A, but maybe the answer for the first person may not be applicable for the second person, but whatever it is, it's all good learning. And because of all these experiential learnings, we hope that we can continue to not only benefit ourselves, but also of others, and sharing it among each other. I think skillful, all these small little ways of solving it, we can inspire and spur everyone on this path. Indeed, it is truly a path of great learning with a lot of challenges. We are very grateful to have Master Brother Joe and all our boat masters, brothers and sisters to guide us. Okay, sorry, before we end the session, let us, because we missed Sister Su Ching summary of past Saturday session, maybe hear from Sister Su Ching.
I'm so sorry. This morning I had problems with my speaker. But Brother Joe, I was there last night at the sharing, and thank you so much for weaving that experience to what you have shared this morning. I never thought of it that way, and Wiki Mikau, I keep hearing about skillful means, and last night when I heard it, I didn't even see the connection, but thank you so much for showing me the connection. Okay, so here we are. Last week. Okay. We had the parable of the lost son. The parable of the lost son tells the story of a son who left his home. He lost his way, as far did he roam. His father found him and concealed his identity to keep his son near, till one day he knew that it was his final year. He revealed to his son his treasures so rich and abundant, surrounded by all the supporting participants. Discussions that follow the story drew parallels to our lives. We are all Buddha's children, but we roam far seeking to survive, wrapped in our delusion of possessive love attached to small love, not seeing that the treasures are all here, everything that we have been dreaming of. The Bodhisattva path, the one vehicle, is there if we follow, but most of us are afraid to commit to great vows, procrastinating them to endless tomorrows. We are afraid that if we make vows, we are not able to fulfill them. So we continue drifting and getting mad, and that is our biggest problem. If we can one day find the courage and our resolve be strong, then and only then will we see the truth that the answers have been in front of us all along. Then Brother Joe Huang. Brother Joe reminded us that we need to keep our cups empty, or there is no room to learn anything more. Opening our minds is a necessity. In chapter 2 on skillful means, Buddha set out saying that the destination is impossible, but he showed us his way and say that it is practical. Those who understood his motive could see he was deploying skillful means, and the path he presented is much more than what it seems. For the way to the destination is not the lesson there is not only lesson there is. It's not the only lesson there is. As you help others, you help yourself the most is the final analysis. Brother Joe ended his sharing last week with a reminder to stop and ponder a lot. Share with others to gain more insights, each with our experiences and thoughts. That's it from me. I'll stop sharing and over to Su Ching for us to wrap this up. Thank you so much.
Okay. Ka'an Sister Su Ching. Ka'an, we are very grateful to have our Sister Woon, Sister Su Ching, Brother Joe to benefit us with lots of heartfelt and wisdom sharing. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for your presence. Hope that each of us could sustain this Dharma joy and take in another piece of master and Hualien love to our life. Let us invite Brother Joe to lead us in making 3 bows to the Buddha and Master as we depart to apply all these wonderful teachings in our everyday life. Let us pay our respects to our teachers of life, universal truth. Come together. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Take good care, brothers and sisters. These are all available in recording. We understand some countries are using it as a training purpose. We are grateful to all the sharers for benefiting more groups aside from those who listen live. Okay, take good care, everyone. Stay safe.